The face of this little British girl has been seen around the world on front pages, newspapers, and computer screens. The mysterious disappearance of 4-year-old Madeleine McCann from a holiday resort in Portugal was one of those stories that grew into a media obsession. Despite a lack of developments in the case, the story remained high on the news agenda, and that was partly due to the expert handling of the media by Madeleine's parents. Their strategy, keeping the media interested in the case, keeping their daughter in the public eye, was their best hope for a happy ending. More than 3 weeks after her disappearance, the case of the little English girl who vanished from a Portuguese holiday resort still has a grip on the world's media.
Detectives have abandoned the ground search for Madeleine McCann 8 days after she went missing.
Journalists have descended on the town of Praia de Luz in their hundreds to cover the story.
This has been an incident which, it has clearly grabbed attention back in the UK. It's, when you have Gordon Brown, the Chancellor of the Exchequer, who's about to become Prime Minister, commenting on the case, when you have a UEFA Cup final with big videos running, when you have campaigns, poster campaigns run by all sorts of organisations all over Europe running it. I mean, it's hit a raw nerve, and obviously we're part of that and we have to reflect that.
We have here televisions from Spain, France, England, Germany, Belgium, Italy. It's not normal. This is a European case. This is globalization of information, I think so.
Child abductions by a stranger are rare, but not unique. However, the media frenzy around Madeleine McCann's disappearance is extraordinary.
People are touched by this sort of story because they, more than perhaps big tragedies or terrible world events, this is something that they can understand, and the emotions are something that they can imagine for themselves. And as such, there's been tremendous public interest and public appetite for the story. It's not just sort of the media spinning the wheels. It's there's clearly enormous public interest in it.
I think that it's an international news because she's so young. She's like 3 years old. All the people is very interesting about this story because she's maybe it's not very journalism, but she's so sweet, and also everyone can feel like the parents that has lost this little girl.
With little information coming from the police, Madeleine's parents have played a significant role in keeping their daughter's story high on the news agenda, giving frequent press conferences and making sure they provide daily appearances for the cameras.
They tend to appear at approximately the same time every day. They tend to do more or less the same thing, and the press appreciate this as a way of guaranteed contact with them, a way of taking new, fresh photographs, even if they're very similar to the photographs taken the day before, but they're fresh photographs that give it a date stamp, that mean that every day the McCanns come out looking different, doing their bit to make sure that the pictures today are a little bit different from pictures yesterday, and therefore give those pictures a better chance of appearing in the newspapers and of appearing on television footage.
Also unusual has been the extent of the media's respect for the family's wishes.
I think in this case, the press has really done a sterling job raising awareness, raising money, printing up posters, reprinting them, constantly putting them up where they've been torn down. And they've had a tremendously positive influence in a way that I don't think I can remember.
The family is not just targeting traditional media. A website set up by Team McCann, as the family now calls itself, received 50 million hits in its first 24 hours. That figure has now risen to over 100 million.
È straordinario il fenomeno che si è creato intorno a questa scomparsa. Probabilmente per l'input iniziale che hanno dato personaggi dello Star System internazionale che sono conosciuti in Italia come in America, come da Beckham alla scrittrice di Harry Potter. Sono delle cose che hanno molto sollecitato l'immaginario collettivo.
Despite the openness of the McCann family, the media have struggled to do their job because of a Portuguese law of judicial secrecy that bans the police from releasing details of ongoing criminal investigations.
The flow of information is definitely probably less than we would expect in the United Kingdom. I think, as is well known by now, the police here are not perhaps used to get this sort of attention and the demand by the media and others for constant flow of information. There have been, I think, 3 or 4 press conferences in the 13, 14 days that I've been here.
However, journalists based in Portugal say that this case has had a revolutionary effect on media-police relations in their country.
We start with a 19th century law which says you don't talk to the media. Suddenly all that is challenged. Suddenly everybody has to think, wait a minute, this is a 19th century law. This is not working in this situation. We have to rethink it. And you can actually see the whole process of thought that the police have gone through in these days, starting from press conferences given only in Portuguese, quick, brief, go away, to within days starting to give them in English, starting to be proactive with media, starting to think maybe the media could help us here. It's been a learning curve, but we've gone forward 200 years in 2 weeks.
Not everyone thinks that change is for the better.
Eu julgo que a nossa presença, a presença dos média, é possível que atrapalhe pouco o trabalho da polícia.
But even with greater access from the Portuguese police and the continuing efforts of Team McCann to keep Madeleine in the news, with no new developments, the story cannot run on indefinitely.
I think that it will be very difficult for them when they start to see fewer and fewer media, and I think it will be devastating given that they have pledged to stay here until the case is resolved one way or the other.
We are at that stage, though, where we have to recognise that this is a story which has to be put in context of other stories that are happening elsewhere in the world and in the UK. So it'll be given the sort of due prominence that it is required from here on in.
The Madeleine story and the coverage of it provoked this response from our Global Village Voices.
In this case, it seems to me that the British media have taken an isolated incident and largely to fill airtime for the lack of anything better, because 24-hour television may be a technological possibility, but there is a problem in terms of the content that needs to be filled, has just gone ahead and given it some kind of a coverage which is really over the top. And it does not in any shape, size or form seem to be helping the case. If at all, it leads to a certain media disenchantment, which I think is deeply troubling.
The Madeleine McCann story in the media, I'm talking about the British media and the heavyweight papers like Times, Guardian, Independent, and also the BBC coverage. It's been a reminder of how desperately sad we can all feel about an innocent child being lost. And it's important that we do feel connected and we do have our human feelings. So I feel the media have done a responsible job, and I wish for a happy ending.
I really believe the Maddie McCann case has been overplayed, but this isn't new to any of us. We've seen this overconcentration on many, many issues. My bigger concern is the hundreds of children that have gone missing since Maddie. Are they forgotten in this tidal wave of information that we're giving about one simple case? I believe that's true, and it's kind of sad.
Finally, our internet video of the week started out life on a television show, but it lives on the World Wide Web. It originated on a program called Skit House, produced for Channel 10 in Australia. And this particular skit touches on the perils and political sensitivities that broadcasters face when deciding whether or not to subtitle an interviewee. We'll see you next time at The Listening Post.
The Americans tell lies. Each day our forces grow stronger. Each day we move closer to our goal of driving the infidel... What are they?
Nothing. Carry on.
Driving the infidels from our motherland. We are not afraid to... Are they subtitles? They are, aren't they?
No.
Well, what do I need subtitles for? Can't you understand what I'm saying? I studied English at the bloody American University in Cairo.
Well, obviously I can understand what you're saying.
Oh, you see how they condescend to us with their subtitles.
Oh, maybe it's teletext, you know, for the hearing impaired.
Teletext?
No, a lot of TVs come with teletext nowadays.
Wait, say something again.
My friend has an 80-cent...
Hey, how come he doesn't need subtitles? I speak perfect English. She sells seashells by the seashore. Pitcher piper, pick a peckle, pickled peppers. Round the ragged rocks, the Oh!
The situation remains as dangerous and volatile as ever here in northern Iraq. While the rebuilding continues...
What? I can't understand you speak English. Oh, where is your subtitle now? Oh, you think you're so good.
Harry Downs, Iraq.
Shut up!